Hello, my name is Levi Misenga. I am a blogger, poet, and avid roller skater. On this channel, I talk about my life stories, success and failures, and how I navigate life as an immigrant of Congolese descent. This is Journals of a Local Stoic.
As time goes by.
So I had a business idea and it failed because I did not have support from my community. And here's my story and what I learned from it. So back in 2020, during the pandemic, I decided, just like everyone else, I was going to start a small business. And this business consisted of buying and selling tech gadgets. And the plan was that I would buy them online and at a low price and then resell them directly again online, because it was basically what I could do, because we're all stuck at home and there wasn't really much that I could do. So like I said, it was basically just tech accessories, things like cell phones, laptop batteries, chargers, speakers, headsets, and so forth. These were just a few selected items I chose that I was going to use to kickstart off my self-employed business, and eventually I was going to grow it into something large as the quantities and the demand grew. So I basically made online purchases, then waited for about 2 to 3 weeks until it finally arrived. So when the goods finally arrived and I began posting, I was under the impression that by the time I would announce my sales on my WhatsApp, on my Facebook and my Instagram pages, I would later have many replies that I would have to respond to from my community, basically supporting the business. And mind you, this is not any extended community. These are people I would refer to as friends from my Facebook and my WhatsApp contacts and Instagram followers. But to my surprise, there was hardly anyone interested. Well, to be quite frank, I did receive a few messages from people who wanted to buy some items, but others basically just promised to pay later on, and the most part I was just greeted with with a lot of opinions basically on how to run a successful online business. And I even had some experts who were already suggesting that I should have opened up a website and get people to work for me and do the deliveries for me and so forth. Now, to be honest, some of the suggestions that people were giving was actually not that bad. In fact, it was good suggestion that could be applied to someone who had already started off this business and was gonna go on into at a much later stage basically. But in my case, it wasn't any sort of suggestion that could be necessary, because I just began this small business and I wasn't in position of hiring anyone. I couldn't hire people to work for me. I couldn't hire anyone to do the delivery for me, and so neither could I even spend more money trying to build this website or even pay someone to do it for me. So when I had already, then was the point where I had already just spent so much money buying the things. And the first few weeks were very devastating for me, and I learned this as a new self-owned employee rather, or self-made employee, should I say employer. I began to feel more anxious because I wasn't making any sales, and due to the fact that my own community had influenced the idea basically, and the thought in my head that because they couldn't afford to buy or support my business, therefore even if I had gone out into the market, I was gonna have the same reaction from people out there. And I was so wrong, because after taking a break from trying to post some of the items online, I finally decided that it was time to eventually post them. And from the first day that I began posting, especially on Facebook, or Facebook Market rather, and other platforms like Gumtree, I started making sales, and I began to accumulate back my profit, which I obviously thought I had lost. Now, I know in the beginning I said that I had a business idea, but it failed because I did not have the right support from my community. Well, to be quite frank, it's not because I did not have the right support. It's just that I'd lost interest in the idea of trying to start a business when my network was not as large as I thought. And when I mean by my network, I'm basically referring to my community. My community was my first network that I had to obviously work with, but that was not the case. But lucky enough, when we came out of the pandemic, and I was able to like go back to my actual job, my business had to stop for a while. So basically I just had to put a stop on my business, and I had to focus more on my work and my studies. So I was getting into because it was basically just getting into the way. But sometimes I would still be able to like do some online purchases during my free time, and I would attend to some of the loyal clients that I've actually built a connection with from the online market. And these loyal clients are in particular have become genuine friends to me. So we've created this link as partners, and we are now basically just, when I would do the purchasing of the items, I would send it to them and they would sell it from me. They'll sell it for me to their clients. And so the distribution was created amongst myself and these people. And well, I would refer to them in the past as strangers, but now I call them my business partners. So yeah, and so for all this that has happened, it had me thinking about why it's so hard to like build a sort of network with people in your own community. And I understand that there is like this stigma that sometimes it's hard to like work with relatives or even family members because there is no that mutual respect in the business. And when you are working with people that are close to you, everyone seems to be doing their own thing, and no one is there to like legislate or make rules that eventually would have been followed. And I wanted to understand like why it's hard to find support from like your own community, and I discovered five things which I listed down as bullet points to just summarize like from the lesson that I learned while starting my own business, and also from the point where it grew into becoming only something that I work with my 5 business partners. So for the most part, it's most businesses in their communities, it's just that most businesses don't grow in their communities due to the lack of interest. And I wanted to say that not everyone will be interested in the same things, and even if someone knows you personally, they may not necessarily be interested in supporting your business. Like if I were to use my example, I know that I started off doing online purchases with tech gadgets and all sort of things, but it wasn't the type of things that was sort of common in my community. Not everyone was into tech gadgets, and it was at a ritual point where people would ask me what exactly am I selling, what does this do and what does that do. It's not like people did not understand the value of headsets or laptop chargers and so forth, but my community had no interest in any tech gadgets. So that's first number one, the lack of interest. And the second thing is perception of quality. If people who know you perceive you or your business to be of low quality or not worth their time or money, they may be hesitant to support it. And I would say sometimes people may have personal biases that prevent them from supporting your business. Even if they believe in the product or service you offer, you are less likely to gain support if they got a personal bias against you. That's obviously number 2, personal biases. People have personal biases against you. One can also mention that it's easier to resolve conflict amongst strangers than it is with people who know you or people who know each other. So this is the fear of conflict, which is number 4. Some people may avoid supporting your business to avoid conflict of interest, especially if they are in the same industry or have the same competing interest. Having a bad reputation as a business owner could also affect you from gaining support after even like having the lack of trust. If people know you and have a negative experience with you in the past, they may find it hard to trust you with their money or resources. And that is what I basically found to be difficult, trying to build a business while trying to work with people in my community. So the 5 things that I learned basically was just the lack of interest, perception of quality, people having personal biases against you, people having the fear of conflict. They don't want to get into conflict with you if you were to supply them with a product that was perhaps broken or wasn't in good quality. And then the last thing would be obviously the lack of trust, because no one wants to work with someone who they believe is going to lose trust, and eventually that becomes an effect. So it works as an effect on the relationship which you have with your clients. So yeah, and these just are the few things that I came to understand and why it was difficult for me to gain support for my business. Now, am I saying that it will still be hard in future to work with people in my community if I'm trying to build my business again? Not necessarily, but I still do feel like it's very important to consider these 5 points that I just listed, because when you start working with people in your community, you have to consider there's always a negative side of it. And it took me a while to understand that I needed to go out of my circle. I needed to go out of my circle of friends to begin to make sales. And it wasn't something that came so easily, because I thought my first clients would be people that I knew, people that knew me, but that was not actually the case. And so this is why I actually came to this conclusion. And I hope it was information that could be useful. And this blog, this article will be posted with this video to those who want to find out on my LinkedIn page. Yeah, so